What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. So today we got an Evoker video here. So I'm going to be going over the basic spells and kind of just give you an overview of what you should need to know about Evoker. So this can apply to PvP or PvE. I'm probably going to try to bring in some PvP situations just because that's what I'm more experienced in. But this applies to anybody, just so if you guys do want to know more about how the class works, so that you are prepared to either play it or play against it. You know, just as important it is to know how to play it, basically learn to play against it, because you're definitely going to see some at least at the beginning. So if you guys like this type of content, make sure you guys like, subscribe. We got more gameplay coming soon, so let's get right into it. All right, so we got our Evokers. They have some sick dance moves, apparently. I didn't even know. It's pretty cool dance. But yeah, we're gonna go through the toolkit. I'm gonna try to keep this quick because there are so many abilities and it is very, very overwhelming. Okay, so you have 4 basic schools. You have bronze, fire, green, blue, and I get them all. Like bronze, red, blue, green. Okay, so you have bronze, red, blue, green. You have 4 different schools. So getting kicked is not a big deal at all. You have so many different schools to cast from. If one thing's down, you can cast the other one, and there's just so many options, and they all do pretty decent healing. First ability I want you guys to know is Reversion. Okay, Reversion is like your base. Think of it like your Rejuvenation, okay, or your Riptide, or your Power Word Shield. It's your main ability you're going to be using. So Reversion is a hot, okay, but what makes it even better than just a hot is something called Golden Hour. Golden Hour is a talent here. Reversion instantly heals the target for 15% of the damage taken in the last 5 seconds. So if you use this, especially after you take a lot of damage, it's going to heal for a little bit more. Consciously, I wasn't really using it for that. I'm just using it when I need the heals anyway, but it's going to end up being a pretty large majority of your healing anyway. This is a game ahead, and you can see like reversion here, Golden Hour, and then Reversion again. This is probably from the echoed version of Reversion. Yeah, so that's like your basic rejuvenation, really important spell. Next one here we have Living Flame. So Living Flame can be used offensively or defensively. So Living Flame is, if you cast it on a teammate or yourself, it's going to heal you. Think of it like a Shadow Mend or a Flash Heal or something like that. But you can also target an enemy here, and you can Living Flame the enemy. Do know that it does have a travel time. So if your partner that you're trying to heal is really low, and there might be a travel time, and they might die in the midst of it. Has happened to me. Next ability we have is Echo. Okay, Echo is like your top talent. I really hope they make this instant, man. It would make this class feel so smooth, but maybe that's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna happen at this point. But Echo basically is a heal, and it makes your next non-Echo spell cast an additional time at 105% of normal healing. So it's basically gonna double the healing, whatever you do. So what you could actually do is you could Echo and then into Reversion, and you could even Echo numerous targets, right? So I can Echo. Can I Echo this thing? Cool. I can Echo this guy. I can Echo this guy. I think that's all I'm gonna be able to do. And then I Reversion myself, and now it's gonna Reversion all of those targets I echoed. So you can really use this. This is the core of the Evoker healing. This is something that's taking me a while to get used to as well. And you can Echo virtually you can Echo anything. So if you just keep up, that's what you're gonna be spending most of your essence things on, or cheese, whatever they call essences, right? You know, you can Echo 2 targets, you can Echo a 3rd target, and then I could Reversion myself. Boom, everyone's Reversion now. And they're all just as good. So this is literally the core of it. So you gotta make sure you're really on top of using those Echoes and really replicating spells. You can use other spells, so let me show you guys another one that you can use. So I can Echo this guy, I could Echo this guy, I can Echo this guy again, and then I could use what's another ability, Brood Embrace, pops to heal on all of them. Just incredible AoE healing with that. So definitely something to keep in mind and learn to master. The next ability here we have Emerald Blossom. So Emerald Blossom is a little efflorescence looking thing that pops a heal on the pops a seed basically on them, and then it explodes, and it's a lot of healing. You can cast this whatever they fixed this. I think it used to only be on yourself, but now it's on whoever you cast it on. So if you cast it on yourself, it's going to pop on you. It's going to land on yourself. If you cast on somebody else, it's going to be over there. There are a lot of cool talents that are associated with this. I don't have them right now, but like there's ones that like make it so when your seed pops, it's going to be a chance to make another one, and then go to another target, and then pop a seed on him, and then that can pop again. So there's a lot of cool talents if you want to go like a route of like Emerald Blossom builds. That's a pretty cool idea on that, but it's that, and also keep in mind it does cost essence. It costs 3 essences. So if you're battling to use your essences between Echoes and Spirit Blossoms, Emerald Blossom, just make that note. Emerald Blossom is instant cast, Echo is a cast though. So next up here we have Dream Breath. So you have some empowered abilities. You have 3 different empowered abilities: 2 for healing, 1 for damage. Fire Breath. So Dream Breath is going to be, you can click to either hold it down, and you can have 3 charges of it, and then it's going to explode. If you guys do end up playing Evoker, there is a setting in here, empowered spell input. So you can set it to press and tap or hold and release. I like the press and tap. I don't like sitting there holding it. So if I cast one of these abilities, this is the Fire Breath one, I click it once, hands off, and then click it again to do it. Or you like the option of holding it down and releasing it. You can do that as well. So Dream Breath is a big heal, and then make sure you read it on these. So every tier that it goes up, it does a little bit more healing and lowers the cooldown of it. So all these spells are like that. So they have the other one, Spirit Bloom. So Spirit Bloom is like a big single target heal, and then if you hold it for longer, it's going to heal more targets for that. So you could do some pretty enormous healing with that. If I Echo, does it work for Echo? I don't even remember. If I triple this, so it should heal 3 targets. No, it doesn't work with that. But you get 3 targets, massive heal. That's like your big heal. Think about like your Swift Mend, I guess, or that's a good one. Like a healing touch, an old school healing touch. Next up here we have Naturalize, which is just the spell. Fire Breath, just let's mention that already. Landslide is a talent at the top left here. It is a root, really cool root. Unfortunately, it's a very long cooldown. It's a 1.5 minute cooldown baseline. If you take this, it's a minute cooldown, but it's a really cool root how you can kind of extend it in whatever direction you want. So I was using this a lot on like melee when they would like train me around a pillar. I could root them and then fly away. So you can use this in line. Let me get over to something so that I can use it on it so you can see. And the extension of the range is really long. So I can do it all the way down there, pops them and roots them, and then you can do whatever you want after that. So it's a 25-second root in PvE, which is great. Okay, next up we have Spirit Bloom. Like I mentioned already, it's kind of another empower ability. If you hold it down for 1 tier, it does 1 target, 2 tiers, 2 targets, 3 targets, and so on. Stasis, this is one of your capstone talents over here. There are a lot of talents. I'm going to try my best to just go quickly on the talents and kind of get you guys more of an idea of the core of the class. So Stasis stores your next 3 helpful spells, and then you can reactivate it in 30 seconds. So, I could pop Stasis here, and then I can use it for Echo. For example, I can Echo 3 targets here. Oh, ran out of things. Okay, Echo the 3rd target. So now I have all of this stored for 30 seconds. I could reversion everybody, and I think I could, and then if I Stasis it, it's gonna pop all of that reversion healing at once. It's just a massive heal there. So there's Stasis, pretty sure cooldown that. Deep Breath is another targeted ability like this, and if you spec into it, you can get make it turn into a stun as well. You are immune to crowd control during this, so you can immune crowd control with it, and you can also spec it to something called Recall, which will make you teleport back after you use it. 2-minute cooldown. Note in PvP you can die, or PvE, you can die in the midst of the animation, so just be careful with that. The next ability we have Quell. That's a talent. That is a kick. Unfortunately 40 seconds. Does have a 25-yard range though, so a little nice to have a little bit of range kick, but it's a 40-second cooldown. So and also just to bring that in with your 2 racials, Tail Swipe and Wing Buffet. Tail Swipe is like a knockup effect, 1.5 minute cooldown, and then you have Wing Buffet, which is a knockback as well. So you have potentially 3 kicks in that scenario to be able to rotate through, and kind of cool to have a little AoE kick or AoE knockback, knockup thing. Next up we have Azure Strike. So Azure Strike is just not really a used ability. It's kind of like your Sinister Strike thing, but doesn't really generate anything. It is a ranged attack, and you could spec into it, make it hit more targets, but virtually not really used. If you have downtime in PvE or you're leveling, it might be something to use in the midst of everything, but for the most part, it's just not really used. Next up we have Disintegrate. So Disintegrate is your other blue. These are your 2 blue spells. Disintegrate is really good for, you'll see it as Devastation. For Preservation, unless you spec into it, it's not going to be very useful. I spec'd into it because I like doing a little bit of damage with it. So you can take this talent, makes it channel faster, and this talent makes it do 20% more damage, and it regenerates 7,200 mana over its entire duration. And if you use it with something called hover, that's what, sorry, I should have noticed when I'm using that. Hover is this ability that I've been using that makes you fast, and then you can basically cast while moving. Really, really strong. And then you can also, you know, disintegrate while moving as well. And disintegrate is also a slow because of this talent. Damaging blue spells reduces movement speed, so it's a nice little slow to have as well. Temporal Anomaly is another talent. So this ability is you cast and it sends out an orb. This orb generates a shield. Hey dude, damn, this thing is shield's too fast. Did I get the shield there? Okay, there we go. I got one tick of it. What I've been using it really often with is throwing it into walls, actually. So if you throw it into a wall, now you can sit in it and you can get the entire shield. So this is a pretty cool ability to use. I think it just costs mana, right? Yeah, it just costs mana, pretty short cooldown. So throwing this into your teammates, it is a very fast orb though. But that you have that, and then you also have, if you spec it to this, Temporal Anomaly also applies Echo to your target as well, so you're able to get off all these echoes. It's a weak conversion, but if you can get like this on your entire, throw this across your entire team, and then, you know, pop a reversion, everyone's gonna get a reversion, and it's gonna be really nice to save with that. Oppressing Roar is another talent I don't have here, but it makes it so your next crowd control is 50% stronger. It's nerfed to 25% in PvP, I want to say, as well. Just keep note of that. Sleepwalk is your CC. So Sleepwalk, I keep like running over here. Sleepwalk is a cast at a CC. You can cast while moving with hover, and then it's gonna walk you towards wherever you were when you started casting it. It's relatively short cooldown too. It's on a poly DR, so polymorph, paralysis, and all that kind of stuff. So just be note of that. But not the worst CC, not the best, not the worst. Kind of nice to have something. Time Spiral is a cooldown. This is a pretty cool thing. So this revolves around your buff too. You have a buff called Blessing of the Bronze, which reduces the cooldown of the class's mobility ability. So like for example, is like Dash for Druids, Heroic Leap for Warriors. I think it's Sprint for Rogues, Hover for Evokers, Warlocks get Teleport, Mages get Blink, I want to say. I'm not 100% on all these, but basically you get a little bit shorter cooldown on your mobility abilities. And if you pop Time Spiral, all of your teammates could use whatever that mobility ability is, and they can tell by just hovering over what their buff is. It'll tell them, and they can use that ability without incurring the cooldown of it, which is pretty cool. After that, we have Time Dilation. Time Dilation is a pretty important one. So this is really something that's going to help you with burst. So if you know there's a lot of burst damage coming in, you can pre-time dilate it so that when the damage comes in, it's going to slow it down. So all that damage they're going to take in, let's say they get burst in 2 seconds, 100% of their health. Instead of them taking 100% of their health in that 2 seconds, now it's going to be spread out. 50% of that damage is going to be spread out over 10 seconds rather than being instant. It's going to give your teammate time to pop a defensive or something like that, or just give you time to heal into it. So it's a really nice thing to use prior to, like what I was using in PvP is like if a target was about to stun me, I would time dilate it in this before the stun hits. So hopefully some of that damage will be elongated out and it'll give me time to get out of that stun and top myself back up. Rewind, extremely strong talent. It's gonna rewind 50% of the damage taken in the last 5 seconds and it heals for always 14k, and it heals for 100% more when it's not in a raid, so it's a lot of healing. And you could also spec into this. It's a 4-minute cooldown though, okay? And there's also a talent connected to it. It's called, you can either get 2 charges of it and it makes it 50% weaker, which is pretty useful, honestly. Especially in PvP, it's a little bit more useful. I was playing only like the solo shuffles, which are very fast paced and 1 round at a time, so 1 rewind was usually good enough because the weaker ones weren't enough. And I only was getting 1 off in a game anyway. Or you can get to reduce the cooldown by 60 seconds, which are both solid. Choices on there. Hover, we talked about already. So Hover is really, really good, man. And you get this, there's a talent on here, Arrow Master, that gives you a 2nd charge of it. Probably not as useful in PvE, but PvP, this is going to be game changer. Like look how far you go. You get increased haste. You're moving faster. You can cast while moving. So you can cast your CCs and stuff while moving. You can Living Flame. You can Disintegrate. You can Echo. All kinds of stuff with that. Excuse me. The next ability here is Verdant Embrace. So Verdant Embrace is very, very important, okay? So Verdant Embrace will charge you to that target that you use it on, and it's gonna do a big heal, and it's gonna share Lifeline, which shares 40% of the healing. So if you have, let's say you have big hots on yourself, or you have big hots on them, the other person is gonna share 40% of that healing as well. So another way to get your AoE healing done with that. And then also, after you use it, because of a talent called Call of Ysera, After you use it, it increases the healing of your next Dream Breath or Living Flame by 100%. Mind you, you can also use it on yourself, okay? So even though I'm always charging to something, you can use it on yourself. And then, you know, I could hover away, I could do a big Living Flame, and it's gonna heal for a lot more than 100% more than it normally would. So that's a pretty cool ability to be always using, being on top of using that all the time. And then next we got Dream Projection. This is a PvP talent. Holy moly though, if you guys are watching me for PvP, this is a humongous hot. Like, let me see if it'll show the numbers on them. You're gonna use it, it's gonna shoot you out, and then you hit 2 on my keyboard and or thing, it's gonna pop this hot. This hot takes so much. It's 200k over the duration. Very long hot, and so use this for PvP specifically, obviously. Use this before big damage is coming in at you, because it's gonna give you a very, very large hot. And you know, if you time dilate and then use that, it's going to give you time for that hot to help you out. Obsidian Scales next on here. Obsidian Scales is your wall. Okay, so you do use this, it gives you 200% armor, 20% magic reduction, and if you spec into it down here, oh sorry, there's a PvP talent coordinated with it as well if you want to use that. And while you have that, you're immune to interrupts and silence and pushback effects, so you can kind of use your wall thing, hover around, and you're immune to everything. Because I'm running like the talent that gives me immune to movement impairing effects during hover as well. So you're basically just immune to everything except for damage. Okay, next up we got Renewing Blaze. Really good self heal. Okay, so it's a 1.5 minute cooldown. You can spec it down here to make it even shorter. 100% of the damage taken in the next 8 seconds will be healed back over 14 seconds. So it's kind of like another thing, bending time and allowing you more time to recover and do this kind of stuff. So the second you start getting engaged, pop this quick. You want to use it before the damage hits. So, you know, if you do it after the damage hits, it's not really a good emergency heal. It's kind of like a preparation thing. Cauterizing Flame, this is another talent here. So this removes everything. So in PvP, there's going to be a lot of Feral Druids because Feral Druids are popping right now. When they pop all their bleeds on you, Feral Frenzy and Swarm, pop this, everything gone. It doesn't remove magic effects. You will have to dispel the magic effect separately, but it's also a good emergency heal too. Like if you're not bursting into something, you just want to burst heal. You can use it as a heal because it does like 40k, which is a decent bit as well. Tip the Scales is the next one. So Tip the Scales is like, I try to think of it like an NS or Nature Swiftness, and make your next empowered spell instantly and cast at the max power level. So what I was using this for a lot, especially going to be useful in like more rate in like a dungeon situation or maybe like a 3v3 situation, or you're trying to AoE heal, you can use your Verdant Embrace. So like we said, Verdant Embrace increase the healing of your next Dream Breath. You could Tip the Scales, Dream Breath, and it's a massive heal. Like that crit for 173 on that guy. And then it's also a hot if you spec into Renewing Breath, which makes your Dream Breath even better, gives you a little bit more of a hot after the fact as well. A lot of healing off that. Tip the Scales you can use for Fire Breath as well if you want to get damage off, or you can use it for Spirit Bloom for like a massive AoE heal as well. They're both great options in that. Okay, we went over our buff already. Nullifying Shroud is just basically like a triple holy ward PvP talent. So you use this and your next 3 LOS effects are you're immune to. Kind of nice, right? So that is about it on all of the abilities. So just to summarize everything, Echo is your most important base ability. You want to echo as many targets as you can. And then, you know, and your essences recover just with time. And then, you know, using Reversion to get a big hot onto everyone, using Verdant Embrace whenever you can. And when you Verdant Embrace, you're going to share healing. And then it also makes your next Living Flame or Dream Breath that much stronger. When you're kind of pressed on time, you can do big AoE heals for instant cast on Emerald Blossoms. If you have time to cast, Spirit Bloom or Dream Breath are going to be pretty big AoE and single target heals. And you can also opt to go for some damage abilities like Fire Breath. You can Disintegrate, you could Living Flame, Azure Strike if you really want, but not super important in there. But hopefully it gives you guys a little bit more of a context on this class. I didn't go over everything. I probably don't even have every ability. I think I have every cooldown. I don't have Dream Flight and Zephyr, but almost every single ability. It's a lot, but hopefully this helps you guys out a little bit. If you do enjoy the content, we'll probably have more Evoker gameplay coming in soon. So like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.